Hello, everyone. Hello. 77s once again, back with another video. And of course, I'm continuing on with my series Love and Individuation, Part 3. But first, before I get into the video, I want to give a huge shout out to a young lady that I've also been following for a very long time. And she is probably out of two INTJs I check her channel out the most, and I am sub to her as well. Her name is Elodie. Okay, this is my sister. I love her to death. Okay, she doesn't know it, but she actually taught me about. When I was kind of getting past the four letters of the MBTI, and I was kind of going into the shadow, four sides of the mind. I kind of learned. When I was getting into that, I learned in depth about the structure of the subconscious, the superego, the shadow, the ego. I learned the structure of how they actually work from her. So I definitely want to give a shout out and credit her for that, absolutely. And I will also put a link in the description when it comes to her channel. Like I say, she's awesome. I love her. That's my sister. Okay. But yes, Elodie, shout out to you. Okay, I want to touch on the censor woman a little more and go a little bit deeper as far as the structure of what society has made them. Like I've said before, the world is built and catered to censors. Like I said, also there's more there's more censor women than there are intuitives as a whole. So like I said, when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to approaching women, when it comes to chocolates, opening doors, chivalry, everything, everything is geared towards the censor woman. Okay? I'm going to tell you why. And why is because of this right here, the shadow SE. Okay? Now, as you can see here, I have the animus of the ISFJ woman, right? The animus is all psychological tendencies, well, all male psychological tendencies in woman, okay? And the anima is all female psychological tendencies in a man. And this is all men, even ESTP men, okay? Don't let them bravado, the masculinity fool you. Don't let it fool you. Every human male has an anima, okay? Every human male has an anima, or what a censor will call it, a man's sensitive side. Okay. But it's actually a man's anima. Okay. So the point is, the ESTP man, they are very good at hiding that. Okay. But we're going to move on. So when it comes to the first stage of the animus of a woman, that is purely 100% this. Okay. Pure, raw attraction. Okay. Pure, unadulterated, raw attraction. What attracts women? Physical attraction, muscles, abs, being handsome, all these things. The pure, raw attraction. Okay? That is the first stage of the animus in a woman. It is also the first stage of the anima in a man. As you can see, Fujiko Mine is represents the first stage of my anima. As you can see from her pictures, and if you know Fujiko, Lord have mercy, physical attraction. Anyway, so like I said, this is a direct indication or in, indication of the censor woman's shadow Essie. Okay. And let me tell you, I don't care who this woman is with. It goes back to another thing. This, I've touched on this before. The inner marriage. Yes, the marriage her mate doesn't even know about that's going on inside of her. Also, in a man as well. Okay. Did I spell marriage right? Marr. Is it IAGE? Not. I can't remember. Um, inner marriage. Let me see. That looks very weird. Yeah, it looks very weird. Okay. So the inner marriage. When I mention the inner marriage, that is what I mean. It means no matter what, inside of a woman, her animus, if it involves Essie in the first or second slot, I promise you, physical attraction is number one. It is number one. What I mean by that, it meaning it doesn't matter what she says or he, like I said, man or woman, doesn't matter. Physical attraction in somebody that is physically attractive is what's going on inside of them in the inner marriage. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about that I personally experienced later on. But yeah, the whole entire planet is catered to censor women. Okay. Namely, this guy right here. Okay. And I'm going to touch on something else. You look all across TV, celebrities, what gets the most likes, subs on Instagram, you know, attractive people, attractive men, attractive women. Why is that? Because the first stage of the enema and the animus has 100% to do with pure physical, raw attraction. Muscles, abs, when it comes to women, long legs, Coke bottle shape, quote unquote, all these things, beautiful eyes, long, whatever that specific thing inside of that man and woman that a person likes, their own subjective view of what attraction is. Okay. It's not societal conditioning. It's the anima and the animus in every human. The first stage of each, anima and animus, the pure raw attraction. Okay. So that's why across the board, celebrities are beautiful, A through Z, throughout time. Okay. Just wanted to point that out. So, like I said, it's all predicated to them. Okay. And I want to say something about something I said in a previous video about all men want to achieve things to impress women. That is not the case for every man. That is not the case for every man. Okay. Definitely not. Some men have goals and dreams for themselves and they want to achieve them for themselves. And in that, women gravitate towards that because that displays high levels of this to a woman when a man can do this. Also, it displays this. Okay, TE. I didn't touch on TE in the last video, but TE along with NI, I mean, who's heard of this guy? Who's heard of this guy? Okay. Yes, we should have all heard of who Elon Musk is. He is an INTJ. He is a pure blood INTJ. Okay? Everybody sees how successful he is. Probably the richest man by far in the world, on the planet. Like I said, future focused vision. TE is all about solving external problems, pragmatic problems. In other words, getting shit done strategically. So, like I said, that shows these types of things to a woman when a man can achieve his goals and they gravitate. Okay. So, moving on. So, another thing I want to touch on also shadow FI once again, because I want to touch on something else or reiterate a point that I made in a previous video. Okay. Shadow FI, some may say want, but I say shadow FI needs someone to make them feel good about themselves. If you have a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. Shadow FI here. We're talking shadow FI here. Unawakened. Unawakened. If we're talking, say if a person feels that they're ugly or, like I said, the insecurities, you know, flaws, imperfections. If these things are, if these are things that that person is dealing with, it is paramount for somebody to love them for those flaws. Okay. Like I said, if somebody doesn't feel that their face is physically pretty or handsome, they're going to want somebody to be with them to make them feel like they are handsome. Okay. You got somebody that's overweight. They're going to want to be with somebody that makes them feel like they're not, or even though that they are, it doesn't matter to that person. Okay. Because like I said, shadow FI doesn't want to look in the mirror at its faults. Well, it does all the time. But instead of trying to do something about them, you know, it's more about somebody loving them for who they truly are. And in turn, when you're dealing with someone with, note I'm saying someone, I'm not just saying a censor, I'm saying anybody. It's important, if that person has shadow FI, these insecurities, these flaws, it is important for them to be with somebody to so they don't have to overload them with FE, love and care. You know, if like I said, if they feel that they're ugly or unattractive, it's going to be important for them to be with somebody that makes them feel like they are. Okay? They're going to need somebody to give them self-esteem. Okay? That's how shadow FI works. Okay? Whereas awakened FI doesn't need to be in a relationship and doesn't need these things from another person, which opens the door for a deeper depth of love for that opportunity to happen. Okay. Just loving, but like I said, it's if you have shadow unawakened FI, that is the main objective of shadow FI for somebody to love them in spite of all of their flaws. Okay. So to speak. Now we're talking, more general things. We're not talking about, things that people can't control, you know. But if somebody is overweight or something like that, you know, that can be helped. Okay? That can be helped. But like I said, it's it's important for them to have that love in spite of that. They don't want to have to look their own FI in the mirror. So they want somebody to be in their life so they don't have to think about it. So it's almost like they're overloading them so much with that love and care. So it makes them feel good about themselves. So when they look in the mirror and that shadow FI confronts them, they're like, oh, that's not true because this person loves me for me. This person loves me in spite of my flaws, whatever the case may be. Okay. Now, but it's because of how they feel about themselves, and I'm more, an advocate of, like I said, awakened FI looks in the mirror and deals with these inner imperfections, flaws, inner negative things that it feels about itself. Okay, because it doesn't want, because like I said before in the previous video, it's more about, if the FI is awakened, it's more about, well, I don't want to deal with these things myself, so why would I want somebody else to deal with them? That's not fair. So awakened FI would be more inclined to deal with all of these things first before being in a relationship. Okay, so in the same case with awakened SE, okay, it's more from a healthier perspective. You want to stay in shape for you, not necessarily for attention from other people. You know, if you're physically attractive in sensor world, you're going to get attention no matter what. That's a given. If you're a physically attractive man or woman, you're going to get attention, flat out. But it's more about doing these things because of how you feel and how important these things to you. Just like I mentioned it in the previous video, if an individual is overweight or whatever. At one point, I was overweight. I was about 275 pounds. I did not like how I looked. I did not like how I looked physically. So I wanted to change that for me. So I lost 50, 60 pounds. I lost the weight because I wanted to look good for me. I wanted to be healthier for me and be around for my kids, things like that. That's why I primarily did it. Okay. You know, attraction comes, no matter what, if you're physically fit in sensor world, like I've said. So the thing is, it's more about, you know, being these things to yourself, looking in the mirror at yourself, awakening your functions for yourself primarily. Okay? That's what it's all about. Awaken your FI, awaken your SE, awaken all your shadow functions, every side of your mind. Okay? Now, I want to say something else. Let me say something else about individuals that have unawakened SI. I mean, not SI, but FI. When it comes to these individuals, like I said, I'm a man, so I'm going to talk about women, even though it's men too. Say, for example, you have a woman that has unawakened FI. She's overweight. She's not confident in herself. These things, all the imperfections, the flaws. Like I said, deep down, even her, she is going to want a man that is very attractive. Okay, she's going to want that. Okay, because, like I said, the inner marriage, namely the relationship she unconsciously has with her animus. Okay, so she is going to want, no matter how she looks, on a scale of 1 to 10, if she's a 1, a 2, a 3, through a 10, she's going to want a man that is physically attractive. As I mentioned, that is the first stage of the animus. There's 4 stages in each. But the first stage, we're talking about sensors, which 99.999% of people never get past the second stage. Okay? Let me repeat that. 99% of people never get past the second stage in their lifetimes, even though there's 4. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But awaken people like me, you awaken all 4 stages. 0.00001% of human beings do this. 0.00001% of human beings awaken all 4 sides of their mind. They awaken their animus slash anima, man or woman, all 4 stages. That just doesn't happen. Okay? So the thing is, when we have shadow SE, that woman is going to want this. So guess what type of man she's actually saying she wants? This guy. This guy, the SE Dom, okay? Namely, this guy. I've said it before. This guy exudes all of these characteristics mainly, well, on a sensor perspective, from a sensor perspective, since the ESTP is a sensor, okay? From a sensor perspective, meaning, say for example, I'm using the rock again, you know, physically fit. He had a dream, he had a goal, he lifted weights, he got into wrestling, and the rest is history. Okay. And he's rich and famous. So typical, not typical, but like I said, when you got an ESTP with their head on their shoulders, they will do these types of things, whether it be achieving a career, you name it, or becoming rich and famous. Okay. They will do these things. So like I said, even this woman, the insecure woman A through Z, she is going to want an attractive man because the intermarriage, secretly, that is what she desires and dreams of, no matter what. Okay. So if you are not physically fit, rest assured, rest assured, if this woman is with a man that is not physically fit to her liking, rest assured, she is dreaming about this man inside, without you knowing. Okay. And vice versa for men, vice versa. So, and I brought up the ESTP, I brought up the SE Dom man, or it's the ESTP or the ESFP. Okay. Both of these guys. Okay. Both of these guys. So they're SE Doms. So when it comes to SE is all about quality when it looks at something. The best job, the best car, the best food, the best physically. Namely, since we're talking about the SE Dom man, they're going to want a woman that is physically attractive, no matter what. When they look at them, I mean, with clothes on, off, whatever, they're going to want a woman that is a 10 physically. Okay. So a woman that has shadow FI issues, that's not the number one candidate that you should be looking to solve that problem. Because the SE Dom man or woman, when it comes to men, that they're all about that physical attraction. That's going to get you in the door. That's going to get you in the door. So again, a woman that's has insecurities, overweight, she doesn't feel, she could be ugly. I'm just going to say, and this is a man or a woman. This is a man or a woman. You know, the if you are these things, the wrong guy to look to is the SE Dom. That's the wrong man to look to. So what ends up happening is that woman gets her heart broken. That man gets his heart broken. Okay. So really, the prime candidate is going to be someone that is in your same situation. If it's a woman that feels these things about herself, the prime candidate that she's actually going to wind up falling in love with is a man that is the same thing, that has these same FI issues. Okay. So if you, I'm just gonna throw this out, more often than not, if you see two people, overweight, I'm just gonna say, don't bash me, because this is just reality. This is just sense reality. This is just the earth we live in. This is 2025 years here. So, and that's all I'm saying. I'm just bringing it to light. So, if you have two overweight people madly in love, often than not, they're the same thing to each other. She makes him feel like he's everything. He makes her feel like she's everything. But, but, rest assured, when football comes on and she sees dudes in tights, her eyes are glued. Or if there's a swimsuit model on TV or an actor, she's going to have a celebrity crush. Okay? Same thing for the guy. All these things because of this, the intermarriage that she has with her animus. Okay? Same thing with a man with his anima. Same thing. Okay? So, like I said, I wanted to touch on that. And I got a story for you guys about this same subject. Hope I have time. So, I got a few minutes. So, I'm in a fast food place. Okay? I go in and I see, a family, a woman, a man. He's overweight considerably. She's not. And their kids, they're all laughing, joking, things like that. I walk in and we lock eyes. Okay. Okay. Now, like I said, I got SE here. I got SE fourth. It ain't eighth. So, and my subconscious is what it is. I know when a woman looks at me, what it means. Okay. So her eyes are glued to me as I'm walking in, and I had to walk back and forth to my car a couple times. Her eyes were glued to me, glued. So this is another example of what I mean about the inner marriage. Okay, the inner marriage doesn't matter now. She has a husband, whatever, kids, the house taken care of, A through Z. But the shadow SE, the inner marriage, like I said, man or woman, they're going to want that SE. Oh, they're going to want it. Okay. So that's all the time I got for this video. Not sure. I'm definitely going to make a part four because I haven't gone deeper into the animus like I wanted to. So I'm going to save that for this next video. Okay. But I am glad that I got to go over all my notes and I hit them before my time was out. I am happy about that. So, guys, thank you once again. If you have any comments, please leave them. I'd love to debate, talk about them, share your thoughts, please. With that said, this is 77th signing out.